For a while now, I've had this love-hate relationship with morning routines. On the one hand, they're a great way to make sure you stay on top of new habits you're trying to start, like meal prepping, working out in the morning, stretching, because it's like the first thing on your to-do list. You check it off right away, and that way it doesn't come time and you're like right before bed and it just hits you, I haven't worked out today. And you're like, well, I can't work out now because if I work out now, I won't be able to sleep and then my whole schedule is going to get messed up. And when I did ice baths, I started off doing them first thing in the morning because of how easy it is to get them done. And because it's really one of the few ways you can actually make sure you do what you want to do, because stuff comes up unexpectedly and it's life. You can't really plan for life exactly. You can try to set some general guidelines, but getting something done first thing in the morning is one of the best ways to stay on top of it. But on the other hand, at least I find myself with this dilemma of trying to shape a perfect morning routine, and you're like, I'm going to read for an hour in the morning to improve my reading speed. I'm going to stretch for an hour. Then I'm going to meditate for half an hour and then take an ice bath and then go for a 1 mile walk. And soon enough, like, it's 12 o'clock and you're like, okay, now it's time to work. And it's just like the whole day is gone. Like, you will spend so much time doing it and it can turn into a form of procrastination where you have to do all these things. You have to get your ice bath and you have to get your jog in. You have to practice German for 15 minutes or something before you can just sit down at your computer and work. And Alex Hormozy talks about this. He's like, my best morning routine is just sitting down and working. And that is one of the best ones I've actually found for when you need to get stuff done, is just sit down at the computer regardless of the state that you're actually in and start trying to work. And it's like 5-10 minutes of resistance normally, and then I'm like, boom, right in the zone. I'm like being super productive, but it's that like 5-10 minutes where your mind's like, I don't want to do this right now, and you're like, you keep refocusing your attention on the task at hand. You might have to reread the same thing you're writing or what you wrote yesterday 10 times, or you might have to like look at the instructions or just like plan out what you're doing, because it is very difficult. And one thing I have found which helps with that is sitting down at your desk and doing a more basic task. I like to sit down at my desk and just roughly jot out my time blocks for the day. It's a not that mental and sorry, it's not mentally fatiguing, or it doesn't take a lot of mental effort to do it, but it's on topic, it's on task, and it gets the ball rolling. You kind of start building up that momentum to keep pushing forward. But on the other hand, so where am I going with this whole thing? Oh yes, okay, this is it. So that was the whole intro. But the one morning routine thing that I found, which actually works amazing, and it's not really a morning routine, but like a morning habit, and it's just do not touch your phone for the first hour after you wake up. And I have been doing this for the past week, and it's really, first off, it just helps get you off on the right foot. Because at least for me, when I start and wake up in the morning, and if I go on my phone, there's some bugs, if I go on my phone right away, then I'm kind of like, my mind's just gonna be scattered all day. I've noticed this. If I watch TV in the morning, if I watch YouTube in the morning, then my mind just gets all scattered, gets all fuzzy, and I'm gonna have trouble focusing for the rest of the day. But if I start off the day not on my phone, I have a lot easier time focusing, which is why I like it's one of the reasons why I dislike TV, is because I used to have the bad habit of getting up in the morning, putting a TV show on, and then going about like putting away the dishes or doing the litter box or cooking breakfast. And when you do it like that, you're just in this constant state of like, you're training yourself not to be aware, not to be conscious of what's going on. Like, if you can stay conscious and stay aware of what your thoughts are and present in the moment for the first hour of the day, it kind of like sets the bar, and it makes it so much easier just to stay present and aware the whole rest of the day. And for me, this morning when I was doing it, I noticed how many things trigger me, and how like I, not trigger in the sense of like, let me just explain. So when I say trigger, I mean like things in my environment setting off thoughts. So this morning I was going about my stuff, and I went for a walk, which I do like to do sometimes, especially now that I'm not trying to stay off of technology for the first hour. I go for walks and I'll read. But I was going for a walk, and I just was looking at things in my environment, and these like college humor YouTube videos from a while ago were popping into my head. And it was like the 6 roommates you'll have, those videos, the baby with a birth defect, where it's a weird video, but it's basically like, I mean, just Google college humor baby with birth defect and click the one there. It's interesting. But it's like a baby was born with an abnormally large penis. It's not as weird as it sounds. I mean, I'm thinking about this, I'm talking about it, I'm saying it out loud, and it sounds horrible. But it's actually a pretty funny video. But like, I was realizing how many of the different things, like how often I'm triggered to like go rewatch a YouTube video I used to watch, or how often some old clip from a TV show is sparked off in my head. And then when I'm not aware of this happening, I'll go look it up on my phone, and I'll find the video, I'll find the clip, and I'll watch it, which I think just further establishes the connection of that object with the clip, because neurons that fire together wire together. So if something fires off and then I watch the clip, it's gonna get wired. And it's kind of like your habits are, or your brain is kind of like a pathway, and the more you follow certain habits you do, the deeper those pathways are walked and the easier they are to walk, which is why it can be so difficult sometimes to break old habits, because you kind of default into it. And I call this derping, or your default mode network, where when you go unconscious, you kind of just do the things that you normally do, and then you might wake up and be like, oh, where am I? Like, you know, it's not where am I, but it's kind of like, oh crap, why am I doing this? Like, you could be on a diet, and then you go kind of unconscious, you start derping, you start like not paying attention to the thoughts going through your head, something sets you off, and then you're eating like chocolate chips or ice cream or something, and then halfway through the ice cream, you're kind of just like, why am I doing, like, I'm being on a diet, I'm trying to cut weight for wrestling, I'm trying to do this, I'm trying to do that. And then you might put the ice cream away, and you're like, I'm gonna stop this bad behavior. And then you just go unconscious to it again, and you'll eat something else because the sugar spiked your dopamine and made you start craving other sweets. And it's kind of this loop of, you'll wake up and you'll be like, why am I doing that behavior? But like, because even after you wake up, if you're not aware enough of your own thoughts and your own behaviors and the things that set you off, you'll just go back to your default mode. And then you wake up again and you're like, why am I doing that? And you'll go back to your default mode. And when those things happen, you need to like do something that takes you out of your default mode. So an ice bath is great, but a lot of people aren't gonna do that. I would say just go for a walk, like go work out, go do something in an environment you don't normally do it that's productive. Like, if you normally read in your office, then reading in your office is just going to keep you on that kind of default mode. So I would go read outside or go read in the hallway, or just something that kind of breaks the unconscious chain of behavior that you've been following. And that's one thing that I found helpful. But getting back to it, starting off the morning, making sure, it's kind of like when you start the morning off doing this and not going on your phone, you're making sure you start the morning off and you're at least awake for the morning. You're at least conscious of your thoughts, your behaviors, and your emotions for 1 hour every morning. And then it makes it easier to refocus on that state later in the day, because the more you walk it, the easier it is to follow. So if you can walk it every single morning, then at least for 1 hour every morning, you're going to be conscious to your thoughts, you're going to be conscious to your behaviors, you're going to be conscious to what you're actually doing. And when you tell this to people, when you recommend this to people, they'll be like, I can't really do this. I need my phone, I need this. Do you? Like, even if you're a parent who has little kids biking to school for like 2 miles in the morning, I'm not saying don't keep your phone on you. Keeping your phone on you is going to make it a little bit more challenging to not go on it, but you can still keep your phone on you, keep your phone nearby, make sure the ringer's on, so that if you get a text message from someone important, you can then look at it so that you don't miss out on an emergency. Because a lot of people have this FOMO, this fear of missing out on, like, what if the one time I decide to turn my phone off, my kid like drives into a ditch and dies and tries to call me? Like, it's this irrational fear, but it doesn't necessarily mean, even though the fear is irrational itself, and you explain that it's irrational to them and they understand it's irrational, they'll still not do something because of that fear. So there are ways. You put your phone on like focus mode, where a call only goes through if it's an emergency. You could schedule focus mode or something. There are ways of scheduling it so you only have calls go through by certain people who would contact you in the case of emergency. So there's really no excuse for not being able to do this. And if you are coming up with an excuse for why you can't not go on your phone for the first hour in the morning, I would challenge you and ask you to examine how you're living your life, and whether or not that's an actual fear, or whether or not that's just self-talk that you've been believing and using as a justification for your phone addiction. And yeah, even though I don't do it anymore, I know a lot of people who will go on social media first thing in the morning. I used to go on social media first thing in the morning, kind of like not even get out of bed, but like alarm goes off, pick up, go on Instagram, scroll through, look at the time, tell myself I'm going to get up in 10 minutes, scroll, look back at the time, I'm like, shit, it's 20 minutes later, then run out the door. But ever since I deleted social media, I no longer have that issue, but I don't know where I'm going with that. I'm kind of just out here rambling. I've been working all day on the computer, so it's nice to get out into nature. And try this out. See what thoughts go through your head and what impulses you have to get on your phone. You might not notice any the first day, but I've been doing this for about a week and a half now, and I'm more aware of, like, there's certain reasons my brain tells me I need to get on my phone. It's like, oh, what if this person calls you? What if this happens? I'm like, 20 years ago, the world worked perfectly fine and no one had instant access to each other maybe 30 years ago. I'm too young to actually understand when this telephone came out. But there was a point in time when you could not get in contact with someone and the world still worked. Everything still ran. So, yeah, consider... I mean, if you constantly need to be on call for some reason, it's just not going to be good for your stress levels, man. You need to be able to unplug and examine the reasons why you're telling yourself you need to stay on your phone. So, call to action. Try this out. Try being mindful of the thoughts going through your head and understanding the different reasons why your brain, the different excuses or reasons or however you want to phrase it, your brain tells you you need to use your phone and go onto your phone. And understand that not always, but a lot of the time, that is just phone addiction and your inability to be present in the moment, which is causing you to have those thoughts. So examine it. If you want to do more and learn more about this stuff, go check out some of my other videos. If you've made it this far in the video, you should probably go check out some of my other videos because you're obviously liking the content. So peace out.